Hi, this is Meredith Lego, and I'm doing a series of videos on Ascension science. Much of the content that I'm sharing, I've been able to receive through a connection with a being called Ascended Master Hilarion, and I also am able to connect with other consciousness as well. But I've been sharing concepts that I've received from some of these teachers on the concept of the quantum or the source field, on mirroring, on polarity, on different topics. And if you're new to the channel, I highly, highly recommend that you actually start at the beginning, because it's very similar to sort of chapters in a book or in like a classroom book in terms of kind of moving up and understanding. The last few sessions have gotten into the concept of the stages of ascension, and following those teachings, which were really 1 through the 6th stage, I asked Ascended Master Hilarion a question which I'm going to focus on in today's video, which is basically if essentially all time is now, so in other words, if time is an illusion and we literally are in a situation where all time is playing out right now, why do we go through ascension if we've already ascended? So that was a question that not only myself, but actually a couple of others in my family were curious about. So the answer that he provides is that the journey is one of experience for the soul at different fractals. So in many ways, the soul is ascended, for all time is an illusion. So every being has an ascended self that has returned to source. You are living a manifest experience of that energy, or a different fractal in which ascension is still an ongoing process. A piece of you has ascended. Not only can you tap into your ascended fractal, but you can also tap into any fractal that has ascended. The reason for the fractals is to provide enough useful manifestations of experience for Source to know or understand itself in all variations or choices, and to understand the path of least resistance to evolution. The being, upon returning to Source, must exist at an extremely high vibration of pure love, light, and light love. Anything less is a distortion and will not be permitted to join with the Creator, as the energy vibration is too high for the being to tolerate and survive. So that was, again, a pretty interesting lesson on basically the fact that even as we're going through our third kind of density experience here on Earth, there certainly is a piece of our consciousness and our being that is already ascended. So essentially we're all one, we're all source field. But there's actually a bit of hierarchy, if you will, that goes into a being and how it starts to have individual manifested experiences. So right now we find ourselves as sort of an individuated soul or fractal of a larger consciousness unit. And that identity is actually called sort of the incarnate identity. But in addition to that, if you kind of ladder up, there's a soul identity, and then there's an oversoul identity, and then there's an avatar identity, and then a rishi identity. And essentially, you've got, let's say, the highest level, a rishi, and that particular consciousness splits into 12 different fractals. That would be the avatar sort of dimensional fractals. And then each of those 12 will split into another set of 12 consciousness experiences that will then again split down to the, I think it is the oversoul level, which then again fractalize into another set of 12 fractals that go down to souls. And those, each soul then again will split into 12 different individuated incarnate experiences. So if you count all that up, that's quite a bit. But essentially, as an individuated soul, as you start to sort of gain more of your original blueprint template back through the ascension process, you do have the ability to connect into really anyone within that sort of cluster of fractal experiences going all the way up to the Rishi level. So in that vein, in many ways, we already are ascended, and we're actually providing information into the whole collective group. So everything that every individuated fractal of consciousness is experiencing is really helping to make up the overall learning, if you will, of the entire sort of group structure. Something else that he said, which was I thought pretty interesting, is that as you're, at the end of the day, ultimately all of this is leading to helping the original source consciousness better understand what it means to evolve, what it means to have experience, and how to sort of evolve consciousness in the least entropy way, or the most efficient way for evolution. And that obviously, I think, has been found over time that really love and cooperation, symbiosis is really the way to be more efficient in evolution. And essentially, as you're sort of moving up the ladder, you start to increase in your vibrational frequency. So when you get to that last level of sort of reconnecting back with source is vibrating extremely, extremely high, extremely, extremely fast. And if you're basically anything that's sort of less, anything that has distortions from that original frequency would not be able to sort of survive or sustain in that high level of frequency. And so really as you're sort of as a being, a sort of reconstituting the fractals, the being really has to work on sort of clearing out the distortions that exist in order to ultimately rejoin with source. So if you kind of think about the evolution, I have to imagine that sort of after a Rishi level, beings have the ability, or kind of once they've ascended past the need to sort of incarnate, have the ability to essentially then become like stars. And as you can imagine, stars have a certain vibrational frequency that would be incompatible for humans like us to be able to merge with it. So that kind of speaks to just the level of frequency. And I think it's really that frequency that you ultimately have to get to. I think that's something else that's interesting that I'm about to get into, that talks about sort of the changes to the body and to the light body as we're going through this process, is that obviously when you become light or a star, you're starting to really emit light directly and become a source for others, of being complete service to others. Although you are connected with other light sources, other suns, other stars, and other sort of central suns, you're then at the point really being able to share that light and that wisdom with others. So hopefully that sort of helps you understand the fact that even though we as individuated consciousnesses and sort of incarnate bodies are going through that journey of sort of descending and then kind of ascending back up, eventually we will get there. But as you start to tune in more and more, you can get the benefit of learning from other fractals of your consciousness that are already ascended. So that's the journey that I'm on, or trying to obviously accomplish more and more. So I hope that helps. And if you resonate with this content, I encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do that as well. Thanks very much. Bye.